Ladies and gentlemen, motivation isn't something you can simply rely on to get you through every challenge in life. It's fleeting, unpredictable, and can vanish when you need it most. Yet staying motivated is crucial when you're striving to build a better life or trying to break free from bad habits. The key lies in understanding that motivation doesn't start with inspiration, it starts with action. If you wait for the perfect moment or the right amount of motivation to strike, you'll wait forever. The truth is, motivation is often the result of progress, not the cause of it. If you want to stay motivated, you must create an environment that supports your goals. Your habits are shaped by the systems you build, not just by your willpower or determination. Think about it. If you surround yourself with distractions, temptations, or toxic routines, it becomes nearly impossible to stay motivated for long. But if you craft a space, both physically and mentally, that encourages good habits, you create a foundation for success. Make it easy to do the right thing and hard to fall into old patterns. Small changes in your environment can create a ripple effect in your behavior. Breaking bad habits starts with recognizing their triggers. Every habit, good or bad, is tied to a cue, a thought, a feeling, or an environment that sets the cycle in motion. If you can identify these triggers, you can disrupt the cycle. Replace the cue for your bad habit with something that aligns with the person you want to become. For instance, if stress triggers you to overeat, find a new outlet for that stress. Exercise, journaling, or deep breathing. Breaking the habit doesn't mean you fight against it with sheer willpower. It means you replace it with something better. You must also understand the power of small, consistent actions. Many people fail to stay motivated because they expect massive results overnight. But real change isn't about taking one giant leap. It's about taking small, steady steps every day. Each small action compounds over time, just like interest on money. Whether you're building new habits or breaking old ones, consistency is more powerful than intensity. Showing up every day, even in the smallest way, builds momentum. That momentum fuels your motivation and reminds you that you're capable of change. Another critical part of staying motivated is aligning your actions with your identity. Instead of focusing on what you want to achieve, focus on who you want to become. Goals are important, but they're temporary. Identity is lasting. For example, instead of saying, I want to quit smoking, say, I'm not a smoker. Instead of saying, I want to exercise more, say, I'm the kind of person who prioritizes their health. When your actions align with your identity, you're no longer relying on motivation to push you forward. You're driven by a deeper sense of who you are and who you want to become. Forgive yourself when you slip up, but don't allow a single mistake to turn into a downward spiral. Progress isn't about being perfect. It's about being resilient. When you fall off track, the most important thing you can do is get back on as quickly as possible. The sooner you return to your positive habits, the less damage the slip-up will cause. A single misstep doesn't define you, but how you respond to it does. Focus on the long game and remember that change is a process, not an event. Staying motivated and breaking bad habits is about building systems, taking small, consistent actions, and aligning your actions with your identity. When you create an environment that supports your growth, understand your triggers, and take control of your choices, you unlock a power within yourself that is stronger than any fleeting burst of motivation. You create lasting change, and you become the kind of person who can overcome challenges, no matter how difficult the journey may seem. Keep going and never underestimate the power of even the smallest step forward. Motivation is often misunderstood. Many people believe they need to feel motivated before they can take action, but this is where they go wrong. Motivation isn't the starting point, it's the result. It grows out of action, even small action. Waiting for motivation to strike is like waiting for lightning during a clear sky. If you want to accomplish anything, you need to stop relying on motivation as the spark and instead focus on taking the first step. Action leads to progress, and progress fuels motivation. Think about how often you've felt stuck, waiting for that magical burst of energy to get started. Maybe it's starting a workout routine, tackling a big project, or breaking a bad habit. You tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow when I feel more motivated. But tomorrow comes, and the same excuse arises. The truth is, motivation won't show up on its own. It's created by doing. Even taking the smallest step forward can break the cycle of inaction and generate the drive you've been waiting for. When you take action, no matter how small, you send a powerful message to your brain. Progress is happening. This creates a feedback loop that encourages you to keep going. For example, let's say you're struggling to start exercising. Instead of waiting to feel motivated, commit to putting on your workout clothes and stepping outside for a short walk. That simple act of putting on your shoes and taking a few steps is an action that breaks inertia. Once you're out there, you might think, well, I'm already moving, why not keep going? By the time you're done, you'll likely feel a sense of accomplishment, which feeds your motivation to do it again the next day. The concept applies to any area of life, whether it's writing a book, learning a skill, or saving money. Action is always the catalyst. Waiting for motivation to hit before acting is like trying to drive a car without turning the key. The engine of motivation starts with action, no matter how small or imperfect that action may be. You don't have to feel inspired or energized to start. You just have to begin. Guess what? Once you do, the energy and inspiration will often follow. Another reason action is so effective is that it reduces the mental resistance you feel. Procrastination and hesitation are often rooted in fear. Fear of failure, fear of the unknown, or even fear of success. Taking that first step, even if it's tiny, quiets those fears by proving to yourself that you can move forward. It builds confidence and shows you that the task isn't as overwhelming as it seemed. Each action you take chips away at the mental barriers holding you back. The beauty of action is that it creates momentum. The more you do, the easier it becomes to keep going. Motivation becomes less of a requirement and more of a byproduct. Once you realize that you don't need to feel motivated to take the first step, you unlock the ability to achieve anything you set your mind to. It's not about waiting for the right feeling. It's about taking control of your actions and letting the results inspire you to keep moving forward. Your environment plays a massive role in shaping your habits and behaviors, yet it's something we often overlook. The truth is, your surroundings have a direct influence on your ability to stay motivated and break bad habits. If you're constantly surrounded by distractions or temptations, it becomes nearly impossible to make progress. On the other hand, if you design your environment to support your goals, you create a system that naturally encourages the behaviors you want to build. The key is to take control of your surroundings and use them to your advantage. Consider how your environment triggers your habits. Everything you do repeatedly is often connected to a specific cue in your surroundings. For example, the sight of your phone on your desk might trigger you to scroll through social media, or the smell of fast food might tempt you into unhealthy eating. These cues are powerful because they activate a routine without much conscious thought. If you want to break bad habits, you need to remove or alter the cues that lead to them. Out of sight, out of mind is more than just a saying, it's a strategy. At the same time, you can use your environment to reinforce positive habits. Make the cues for good habits obvious and accessible. If you want to eat healthier, place fresh fruits and vegetables where you can easily see them. If you want to exercise more, keep your workout gear within reach. By making the right choice the easiest choice, you reduce the friction that often stops you from taking action. Small tweaks to your surroundings can have a significant impact on your behavior over time. Clutter is another factor that affects motivation and focus. A messy, chaotic environment can lead to a cluttered mind, making it harder to stay motivated or productive. Clearing your space creates a sense of order and calm that allows you to focus on what truly matters. It doesn't have to be perfect, but creating an environment that feels supportive and intentional can help you stay on track with your goals. Your social environment is just as important as your physical one. The people you spend time with influence your habits, often in ways you don't even notice. If you're surrounded by people who share your goals and values, their behavior will reinforce your own. However, if your circle encourages bad habits or negative thinking, it becomes much harder to stay motivated. Seek out communities, friends, or mentors who inspire you to grow. Their energy and actions can serve as a powerful motivator. One of the most effective ways to reshape your environment is to adopt the mindset of a designer. Look at your surroundings and ask yourself, what's helping me move forward? What's holding me back? Be intentional about removing obstacles and creating spaces that align with your goals. Small changes, like rearranging your workspace, organizing your schedule, or even altering your daily route, can have a profound impact on your habits and mindset. Your environment isn't fixed, it's something you can shape. By taking control of it, you take control of your actions. When your surroundings support your growth, motivation becomes easier to sustain. Breaking bad habits and building new ones no longer feels like a constant uphill battle because the environment itself works in your favor. A supportive environment sets you up for success, helping you stay consistent and aligned with your vision for a better life. Every habit, whether good or bad, is rooted in a cue, a trigger that initiates the behavior. These triggers can be thoughts, emotions, or elements of your environment that nudge you into a routine without much conscious effort. To break bad habits, you first need to understand the cues that set them in motion. Once you identify the triggers, you can take control by interrupting the cycle and replacing the unwanted behavior with something healthier and more productive. The first step is awareness. Many bad habits operate on autopilot, meaning we don't even realize what triggers them until we take the time to reflect. For example, you might notice that every time you're stressed, you reach for unhealthy snacks, or whenever you're bored, you instinctively pick up your phone and start scrolling through social media. These triggers are often subtle but consistent, and they play a powerful role in shaping your behavior. By identifying them, you shine a light on the pattern that keeps the bad habit alive. Once you've identified the cue, the next step is to disrupt the habit loop. This doesn't mean relying on willpower alone. It means designing strategies to prevent the trigger from leading to the same old routine. One effective approach is to alter your environment to minimize the presence of triggers. For instance, if you tend to procrastinate by watching TV, you can create a barrier by unplugging the TV or placing the remote in a different room. These small changes create friction, making it harder for the bad habit to take hold. Another strategy is to replace the bad habit with a positive one that serves a similar purpose. Habits often fulfill a need, whether it's comfort, distraction, or stress relief, and if you simply try to stop the habit without addressing the underlying need, it's unlikely to work long term. Instead, find an alternative behavior that meets the same need but aligns with your goals. For example, if stress triggers you to smoke, replace that habit with a calming activity like deep breathing or going for a walk. Over time, the new habit can become just as automatic as the old one. It's also important to recognize that triggers aren't just external, they can be emotional. Negative emotions like stress, boredom, loneliness, or frustration often drive bad habits. When you feel these emotions, it's tempting to seek quick relief through unhealthy behaviors. The key is to build awareness of your emotional triggers and develop healthier ways to cope. Journaling, meditation, or talking to a supportive friend can help you process emotions without falling back into destructive routines. Breaking bad habits isn't about perfection, it's about progress. You might not catch every trigger or successfully replace every bad habit on the first try, and that's okay. What matters is your willingness to keep going. Every time you interrupt the cycle, you weaken the connection between the trigger and the habit. Over time, this disruption creates space for new, positive patterns to take root. The process of identifying triggers and disrupting bad habits requires patience and consistency. It's not always easy, but the effort is worth it. By taking control of the cues that shape your behavior, you reclaim your ability to choose. You're no longer a prisoner of your habits, you become the architect of your life, capable of breaking free from the patterns that hold you back and replacing them with habits that move you closer to your goals. And if you think about it, is it better to get habits that move you closer to your goals? One of the most common mistakes people make when trying to change their lives is expecting instant, dramatic results. They dive into new habits with enthusiasm, but quickly burn out when they don't see progress as fast as they hoped. The truth is, real, lasting change doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of small, consistent actions taken over time. These tiny, deliberate steps may not seem significant in the moment, but they compound into powerful results if you stay the course. When you focus on small, consistent actions, you remove the overwhelming pressure of trying to do everything at once. This approach makes the process of change manageable. For instance, instead of committing to an intense hour-long workout every day when you're just starting, commit to 10 minutes of movement. That 10 minutes may feel small, but it's something you can do consistently. Over time, it becomes a habit, and as your confidence grows, you naturally increase the effort without forcing it. The key is to aim for consistency over intensity, especially in the beginning. Consistency creates momentum, and momentum is what keeps you moving forward even when motivation wanes. Think about how habits are built. They aren't the result of one big action, but a series of small, repetitive choices. Every time you take a small step, you reinforce the identity of the person you want to become. For example, every time you choose to eat a healthy meal, you're reinforcing the identity of someone who values their health. If every time you sit down to study, you're reinforcing the identity of someone who is committed to learning. These small wins add up and gradually reshape your self-perception. It's important to remember that progress isn't always visible in the short term. You might not see immediate results from your efforts, but that doesn't mean they aren't working. Think of it like planting a seed. For a while, nothing seems to happen. You water it, nurture it, but there's no visible sign of growth. Then one day, a sprout emerges, and before you know it, it grows into something significant. The same is true for habits. The results might not show right away, but with consistency, they will eventually become undeniable. Focusing on small, consistent actions also helps you avoid burnout. Big, sudden changes can be exhausting and unsustainable, leading to frustration and giving up. But when you break your goals into manageable steps, you build a foundation that's easy to maintain. It's not about doing everything perfectly, it's about showing up every day, even if it's just in a small way. Over time, these small actions become part of your routine, requiring less effort and willpower to maintain. Every great achievement starts with small, intentional steps. Whether you're trying to build a new habit or break an old one, the process is the same. Commit to consistent action no matter how minor it may seem. Small steps compound over time, leading to exponential growth and lasting change. This approach is not only effective, but also sustainable, ensuring that the progress you make becomes a permanent part of your life. By focusing on consistency rather than perfection, you build a resilience and discipline needed to succeed in any area of life. True and lasting change begins when you shift your focus from achieving short-term goals to embracing a new identity. It's not enough to want to lose weight, save money, or quit a bad habit temporarily. To create meaningful change, you need to connect your actions to the kind of person you want to become. Identity is at the core of every habit you build or break because your behavior is a reflection of how you see yourself. When you align your habits with your desired identity, change becomes not just achievable, but inevitable. The problem with focusing solely on goals is that they are results-driven. While goals can provide direction, they are temporary markers. For instance, if your goal is to run a marathon, you might train hard, complete the race, and then stop running altogether. Why? Because the goal was accomplished, but it wasn't tied to a deeper sense of identity. Instead, when you focus on becoming a runner, you adopt a mindset that goes beyond a single race. Running becomes part of who you are, and it naturally integrates into your lifestyle. And identity-based change is powerful because it shifts your motivation from external rewards to internal beliefs. It's no longer about what you want to achieve, but about who you want to be. For example, if you see yourself as a healthy person, you'll naturally make choices that align with that identity. Eating nutritious foods, staying active, and prioritizing rest. These actions don't feel forced because they are a reflection of how you see yourself, not just tasks on a to-do list. Building an identity requires evidence, and habits are the proof. Every small action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. If you want to be a writer, writing even one sentence every day reinforces that identity. If you want to be financially responsible, saving a small amount of money each week supports that belief. The key is to start small and let these actions accumulate. Over time, these consistent behaviors solidify your identity and make it easier to sustain the habits that align with it. Breaking bad habits also becomes easier when you focus on identity. Instead of saying, "I'm trying to quit smoking," say, "I'm not a smoker." This subtle shift in language has a profound effect on how you see yourself and consequently how you behave. When your actions are misaligned with your identity, they feel wrong, creating a natural resistance to the old habit. Your identity becomes a guide, helping you make decisions that are consistent with the person you want to be. Identity-based change isn't about perfection, it's about progress. You won't transform overnight, and that's okay. What matters is that every action you take moves you closer to the identity you're building. This approach not only creates lasting habits, but also fosters a deeper sense of fulfillment and self-respect. You're no longer chasing fleeting goals, you're creating a new version of yourself, one small action at a time. When you align your habits with your identity, you're not just changing your behavior, you're changing your life. Mistakes are inevitable. No matter how disciplined or committed you are, there will be times when you slip up. You'll skip a workout, procrastinate on a project, or indulge in a bad habit. It's human nature, and it's part of the process of growth. The difference between success and failure isn't whether you make mistakes, it's how you respond to them. To create meaningful change and build sustainable habits, you must learn to forgive yourself for your missteps and focus on resilience. Progress is not about perfection, it's about consistently getting back on track. The biggest trap many people fall into is letting one mistake derail their entire effort. A missed workout turns into abandoning the gym for weeks. An unhealthy meal leads to a binge that lasts days. This all-or-nothing mentality is toxic because it assumes perfection is the standard. When you hold yourself to an impossible standard, every slip-up feels like a failure. and the guilt can be paralyzing. The key is to break this cycle by reframing mistakes as opportunities to learn rather than reasons to quit. Forgiving yourself doesn't mean ignoring your mistakes or brushing them aside. It means acknowledging them without judgment. When you slip up, take a moment to reflect on what happened. What triggered the behavior? Were you tired, stressed, or distracted? Understanding the root cause allows you to address the issue and create a plan to avoid it in the future. This process turns every mistake into a valuable lesson rather than a setback. Resilience is about how quickly you recover and realign with your goals. One of the most effective strategies is the never miss twice rule. If you miss a habit or make a mistake, commit to correcting it immediately the next time. For example, if you skip a workout one day, make sure you show up the next day. Missing once is an anomaly, but missing twice starts to build a new negative habit. By prioritizing a quick recovery, you prevent mistakes from snowballing into bigger problems. It's also important to remember that progress is non-linear. Growth comes in waves, and there will be peaks and valleys along the way. Instead of focusing on short-term setbacks, look at the bigger picture. If you've been consistent most of the time, one mistake won't erase all your hard work. Celebrate your overall progress and use it as motivation to keep going. Resilience is built when you trust yourself to bounce back, no matter how many times you stumble. Lastly, practice self-compassion. Change is hard, and expecting perfection will only lead to frustration. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend in the same situation. Recognize that every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. By forgiving yourself and staying resilient, you create a mindset that supports long-term success. The journey to breaking bad habits and building better ones is not about never falling. It's about always getting back up. Change is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about understanding that every small step you take, every habit you build, and every bad habit you break brings you closer to the person you want to become. Motivation may come and go, but it's the systems you create, the environment you design, and the identity you embrace that will sustain you. Mistakes are inevitable, but they're not the end of the road. They are lessons that teach you resilience and strengthen your resolve. The power to transform your life lies within your daily choices. By focusing on the small, consistent actions that align with your goals, and by shaping an environment and mindset that support your growth, you unlock your full potential. This journey is not about quick fixes or fleeting results. It's about creating lasting change that becomes part of who you are. Stay patient, stay committed, and never underestimate the impact of showing up, even when it feels hard. You have everything it takes to rise above your bad habits and build a life of purpose and fulfillment. Start now and keep moving forward. Every step, no matter how small, brings you closer to the extraordinary life you're capable of creating.